Hello again. I'm Joe Roberts, and I'm your host for this evening on this June the 12th Mayfield Friday Time program, and we want to welcome you to our broadcast this evening. Excuse me. My co-host, Pastor Bonner Dixon, is with us this evening. He's been absent a few times, but he's back.
Yeah, I'm back. I'll be back.
And Jamie is here working everything. We ran into a little problem in our introduction. We were just talking before we went on the air that you can check things, you can double check things, you can triple check things, and sometimes when it's ready to go, it don't work. So we don't sweat it. We just roll with whatever is thrown at us and go on. But anyway, it's good to have all of you with us tonight. I hope you're on Facebook or YouTube or you're listening on the radio station. It's good to have you with us. We want to invite you to call in, and for weeks now we have been saying that you couldn't use Skype, but Jamie informed me, and we checked it out this afternoon. Skype does work. So all you have to do, if you have Skype and you would like to contact us, you can do that by doing a search of IMBR. And that will bring up our Skype program, and that way you can contact us. You can either email us or you can call us on that. And you can also call us on our phone number, 615-219-9926. That's 615-219-9926. So don't hesitate to call if you would like to call in and put in your 2 cents worth. We'd love to have you. We've got some very interesting subjects, like we do every week, that comes up. We like to try to cover things that are pertinent to us today. And so what we discuss may not be widely known, or I can almost guarantee you that the media doesn't touch on it. So there are a lot of things that happen that the media never goes toward and never looks at. So a lot of things go unreported if it were not for other organizations that are well equipped and ready to do those type of things. So we're going to look at one that's written by Dr. Michael Brown of drbrown.org or AskDrBrown.org. I've used some of this man's material before, but he has an article that he has written. We stand on the precipice of a very dangerous cultural shift. That's going to be coming up. And right in conjunction with that one is another one. Americans betrayed as high rollers shell out over $400 million, and you'll never guess to whom. To rioters.
To who?
Rioters.
Oh, okay.
The ones that are rioting.
Oh, yeah.
So those two within themselves are quite a challenge there. But this last one, we have touched on it before. I reported to you sometime before about the locusts that have been just devastating parts of Africa. And so we're going to have an updated report updated by June the 10th. So that was just a couple of days ago by Michael Snyder. And we've had him before, some of his articles. So all of that will be coming up this evening and a little later on. But right now I'm going to turn it over to my co-host and let him give us a short rundown, overview of this coming Sunday's sermon.
Are you ready for this?
Is he turned on? I can't hear him.
It's dead.
It's not dead. Yours is not dead either.
That's right.
Hello? Oh, did you get it? Is it coming through now? No? Oh, okay. Yeah.
Yeah, yours is off.
No, it's on.
I just turned it on. You see what kind of problems we run into here sometimes?
You just didn't want me to hear the sermon. Well, the sermon is. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3.
Try again.
1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. It was before.
Oh, yes. That one works.
Oh, I get the. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, that one works.
Oh, okay. Now I get the pink one. Okay.
You got
Oh.
a thing with pink?
No, I don't have a
You
problem with
muted
it.
your microphone. That's
I did what?
You muted the microphone.
No, I just pushed
Yes,
the
you
button.
did. Yes, you
Okay.
did.
Yeah.
That's what happens when you have a non-tech person on the staff.
There you go. There you go.
All right, brother.
Okay. My sermon Sunday morning is the offense of the cross, and of course, if you look at 1 Corinthians chapter 1, verse number 18 through 24, sometimes people think that directly involves the lost world. But as I began to study, God began to reveal some things that when we talk about the cross, there's 3 reasons, and now some people might think this strange, but I would encourage folks to listen Sunday. But 3 reasons why the cross has been, and always will be offensive and shameful to many believers. And you might wonder, where in the world am I coming up with that? Well, number 1 is the cross of Jesus Christ opens us up to public view. And I'll deal with that. And then number 2, the cross opens up to self-denial by refusing the cheap rewards of the world. And then number 3 is the cross opens us up to proclaim that Jesus Christ is the only way of salvation. And I wouldn't hesitate to say this: there are a lot of believers who will not really preach the true message of salvation to the lost world in the way that it might just offend someone. So I would encourage you to, those that are listening, listen Sunday morning. Then also Sunday night, we are continuing our study in Satanism. We finally got the blanks filled in, and that'll be up Sunday night. So you'll be glad you did. I found this study not only reveals some things about how Satan works, but it will reveal a lot about ourselves. So anyway, I'm going to leave it up to you. So
All right. We thank you very much on that. I think Jamie has some things that he was going to bring up this evening. We have,
he's looking at us like a blind dog in a meat house.
yeah, like sort of a blank look, startled look come on his face. But you told me you wanted some time this evening, so
He's saying where?
yeah.
When did you say that, Jamie?
I said it today, but then I forgot what I was going to say.
Be careful what you might ask for. You might just get it.
That's right. Don't ask for too much, right?
Well, you told me that you had received some songs from one of our speakers, Brother Dan Curtis, and you were going to talk about that. And
Yeah, we've got a couple of songs that are going to be playing on the radio station after the program. I'm going to queue them up, so whenever we're done with the radio, or done with the broadcast, we're going to be playing those. I think there's 6 songs. These are pre-release, so they're not available on iTunes. There's not even actually an album title yet for these, so you're hearing them first here on IMBR.
Get to hear them first on this radio station.
Yes,
That's why you need to
Exactly
listen
right.
to this.
That's right. That's right.
We might be fortunate to hear the trumpet sound on IBMF.
all right, well, that takes care of that, and we appreciate Brother Dan sending those to you. And we do have an entire album that he has given to us and given us permission to use on the radio broadcast.
Nope. Still don't care.
Nope, still don't care. That's the name of the
name of the album.
That's the name of the album.
I don't care.
And
Nope,
still don't care.
Oh,
And you
nope,
wondered
still
about
don't care.
you coming up with strange titles.
Hey,
But
There's one of the songs that Brother Dan sent me. Man, where is it here? One of the songs that he sent me was talking about working till the trumpet comes, and I'll pull them up and I'll get them. I'll interject here in a minute on some of them.
Wait, did you say till the trumpet comes or the trumpet sounds?
Yes, trumpet sounds.
You caught that too.
I
huh?
caught it too.
Yeah, y'all catch me all the time.
It's like metaphorical Christianity.
Pretty much.
Well, that did turn out pretty good.
Well,
Sunday.
hey.
I have to say that.
And
Here's the name of it: Getting Rapture Ready.
There you go. Well,
Getting Rapture Ready.
I can even teach a doctor some stuff. Hey, what can I say?
Can't go wrong doing what's right. And in the best of times, and God ain't done with me yet. And the last is there ain't no doubt. Oh, I'm sorry. And there's one more. I kidnapped Jesus.
Say what?
See, there
Say
you go.
what?
I kidnapped Jesus. You have to listen after the radio, after our broadcast to hear that one. But trust me, it's good. It's good.
Yeah. And we've got an extra 15 minutes tacked on to the end of it tonight. So
Oh, okay.
you
All right.
can
I will play them afterwards.
you
Then.
can play those afterwards. Yes, sir. Well, that's all right. Let's address this one particular article that we got by Dr. Michael Brown. We stand on the precipice of a very dangerous cultural shift. Boy, if that isn't the truth, I don't know what is. And I read from his article. In recent days, a number of commentators have compared the year 2020 with 1968. But we have not discussed the larger cultural shift that took place as a result of the countercultural revolution of the 60s. In short, what was extreme and fringe in that generation became mainstream in the next generation. I remember those times. And you're a little younger than I am, but I know you're still old
60s?
enough.
Yeah, I remember the
Yeah, you
60s.
remember them.
We're talking about the riots of the 60s?
Not only the riots, but I mean just the mentality. And,
Oh, yeah.
The overall mindset, I guess you would say, became very different, and that led into the 70s, which were even more turbulent.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so put another way, he says, radicals like Bill Ayers of the Weathermen, who bombed buildings in their anti-war protests, became university professors, excuse me, and even mentors of a president, meaning Barack Obama.
Mm-hmm.
Now, who saw that coming? Do you think that radical anti-family feminists in groups like WITCH, W-I-T-C-H, imagined a world that legalized abortion that would snuff out 60 million lives in the womb? WITCH, which is an acronym that stands for Women's International Terrorist Conspiracy from Hell.
Name
You
suits
not?
them, doesn't it?
It was founded in 16. Yeah, I wish it was back in 1600.
Well, it sounds like the witch, Salem witch trials, don't it?
Very, yeah. It was founded in 1969.
You know what's interesting? That is the same year that the Church of Satan was founded. I don't know if you realize, Anton LaVey.
I didn't remember when it was
Oh,
founded,
yeah.
but I know
In
what
California.
you're talking about. Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, yes.
Oh, yeah.
He's the one that put out the Satanic Bible.
Well, it was 69 was when Charles Manson,
Was that
the
when
killing,
Charles
that was in
Manson did
69,
all those
yes.
murders?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I didn't remember that being
Oh, yeah.
the year.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Do you think that the 1969 Stonewall Inn rioters hurling bricks at police and their hurling bricks at police and their cars and chanting "Gray Power" and "We want freedom now" envisioned the day when the Supreme Court would change the very meaning of marriage? Remember that these gay rioters tended to despise marriage as an antiquated patriarchal institution. Do you think that the transvestite prostitute protesters, that's a mouthful, Envision the day when university campuses and big businesses would marginalize you if you didn't affirm transgender activity or activism. Have you ever worked with one of those before?
Oh, yeah.
When I still lived in Maine, in the years that we lived in Maine, I was very active in a lot of organizations there, nonprofit organizations. And the Chamber of Commerce, which I served as an officer and a committee member, and I was the president for a while. And it was during that time that my health began to go down, and I had to resign as president. We had a fella, and yeah, I'll call him a fella. He had one of these changes, and when I first saw him, I thought to myself, okay, he's got the figure, he's got the hair, but he's too tall. I had never seen a woman as tall as he was. So, and his voice, he couldn't get away from a deep voice. It just was not feminine, I'll tell you. Anyway, I had to put up with it, and I didn't say anything. I bit my tongue many times, but yeah, that was different. All right, Dr. Brown says, standing on the brink. He said in 2000, he said, I wrote a mini book called The Jesus Manifesto. Looking back at some of the opening lines, it sounds almost quaint today. Quote, the last generation's countercultural culture of rebellion has become this generation's establishment of revulsion. And what was unthinkable 30 years ago, daytime talk shows celebrating adultery and incest.
You know, when you mentioned about the daytime talk show, I was watching something in reference to that they said that the daytime talk show has actually reworked our intelligence.
I wouldn't doubt it. There are millions of people that tune in on those, not only on radio, but on TV too. You got sort of a grin. What do you?
All I could think of, on the ride down here this afternoon, I was talking, Brantley and I were talking, and he was talking about vines. And you gentlemen may not know what they are, but one of the apps on your phone that you get is called TikTok, and it's little short clips, video clips, right? So he's like asking him, he's telling me about some TikTok videos, and I told him, I said, I know what TikTok is, I said, but I don't watch it. And he looked at me, he goes, why? I said, just my opinion. I said, as I sit there and I watch this, I said, it feels like my intelligence is bleeding out my ears. So I said, I don't sit there and watch that stuff. I was like, I feel like I'm getting, I'm not that intelligent to begin with, and I feel like the more I watch it, the longer I watch it, the dumber I get.
Well, that's what they were talking about, that they rearrange our intelligence.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
When you said that, all I could think of was Vines and TikTok and all that stuff, and sitting there just scrolling videos. Oh, this one looks interesting. No, that's stupid. Going, I'm like, I'm just sitting there going,
Well, I'll tell you another thing. If you watch very much television, and I don't.
I don't have time.
Yeah, that's me. The only time that I have is when I finally get sat down for the evening.
And then you go to sleep.
No, I don't go to
I
sleep.
do.
That's my wife's job. She goes to sleep.
yeah, Angela's sitting there watching. No sooner she's sitting there watching, you'll see her just. She's out. She can't sit and watch a movie. We joke about it because she's never been able to sit and watch a movie for as long as I can remember.
Well,
I don't even go to the movies because they've got the reclining chairs,
You'd be asleep.
and then I'm out. So why pay the money? So
why pay money? To take a nap, right?
yeah.
Well, I'll tell you one thing that insults my intelligence. I was going to say this, is that these commercials Come on. Lord, I tell you, you must have to be completely insane to do up some of those commercials.
Well, do you remember the days when the commercials come on, they were something that was funny and you remembered them? I couldn't tell you what things are for now on. I mean, really. I mean,
Me either.
you know,
I
about,
still remember commercials from as a kid, but I couldn't tell you commercials anymore.
Yeah.
It's
But-
like they're working to see who can put out the most
Yeah.
stupid, and maybe that's a strong word, but they're competing to see who can be the most ridiculous.
and I could
think
care less
so.
about what they're selling because I just leave and come back whenever something's on. But I remember the days as a kid, I look forward to certain commercials. I mean, like My Baloney Has a First Name, you know, and
Oh, that's Oscar Mayer.
Oscar Mayer, yeah.
Wieners. You know?
yeah, you know, things like that, you know. I still remember some of them. And then Mountain Dew will tickle your innards, you know, those kind of things, you know.
Yeah, I
So
remember when that commercial first came out. It had
what, Mountain Dew?
Yeah.
The little hillbillies,
Yeah, and it had the typical jug that you see.
Oh,
you
yeah.
know, and the cork, he shakes it a little bit,
Yeah.
and the cork flies off and puts a hole through his hat.
He goes, yeehaw,
Yeah.
Mountain Dew, it'll tickle your innards.
Yeah, I guess it would.
That commercial today would literally bankrupt Pepsi.
Oh, yeah, oh,
If
yeah.
they showed that commercial
yeah.
today. They would be sued so much they would be bankrupt.
Well, Jamie, you don't remember, I wish I had a Coke. There was something, they were singing a song, and it was, get together and we sing a song about Coca-Cola, and yeah, I remember those things. And then don't mess with Mother Nature's like butter, you know, and stuff like, yeah, stupid, but they were funny.
Yeah.
It's not butter.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's not butter. Okay, let's look at what was unthinkable 30 years ago. Daytime talk shows. We were just we're talking about celebrating adultery and incest. Homosexual love scenes on a major network TV. 11-year-old multiple murderers. Massacres in our schools and houses of worship. It's a matter of course today. We need a revolution, he says. Back on these shootings of churches, we here at Mayfield Drive, many of us are concealed weapon carriers. Most of us carry open.
Yeah.
I don't see you packing tonight.
Well, where's yours?
Well, I've got it over
Why
here
do
out
I
of
need
the
mine
way.
then? Well, I'm going to need mine. If you go down, I'm going to grab your gun anyway, so hey.
So, our police department in Smyrna is well aware that we have several members that are armed,
Oh, yeah.
and I've talked to some of their officers, and I know that you used to be a chaplain with them.
Yep, absolutely.
And, but it's like when Brother Bernie said when we had a shooting just a few miles from here, and some people were killed, and I don't know that any of our people were complaining about
No.
any of us carrying, but we actually went through some procedures
Yep.
to what to do in case something like that did happen. And I remember the statement that you made. It's not because that we are scared, or we are afraid, or we are fearful. We just want to be prepared.
Yep.
And that's it. Let me get back to the course here. Of course, the revolution of which Dr. Brown was talking about was a gospel-based moral and cultural revolution, changing hearts and lives and thereby changing the society. But if that was true in the year 2000, 20 years ago, it's much truer in the year 2020, when we stand on the precipice of an even more dangerous cultural shift. He says, I'm talking about the rise of mobocracy. M-O-B-O-C-R-A-C-Y. I think you created a new word there. where the most radical elements of society forcefully impose their will on everyone else.
That's mobosity. That's a mob.
That's a mob. Yes, absolutely. He said, I'm talking about the safe space culture on college campuses with enforced speech codes, even thought codes and severe penalties for every violation becoming the national norm. I thought that was one of the stupidest things when I'm sorry, this is my thought process. Why do you need a safe space? I mean, get real, man. Anyway, he said, I'm talking about an even more extreme shift to the left, but this time under mob patrol.
Say it, Jamie.
I hear all the time, and I see all the time on Facebook people talking about democracy at work, democracy at work, democracy at work. We don't live in a democracy.
No, we do not.
We live in a constitutional republic.
Exactly.
There's a reason for that. That way mob doesn't rule.
Exactly.
But yet we're seeing mob rule in so many places.
Then anything offends anybody, too.
Yeah.
I don't know if you heard the latest, but you can't hardly find a copy of Gone with the Wind because it's offending somebody. You hear about that?
I did. Yes. And in the movie itself, and
Go ahead, brother.
I have to restrain myself because we are on the air, and
I know.
the world has the potential of seeing this.
Oh,
but,
yeah.
You know, I don't care. I am getting sick and tired of all of this mess that's come up. It's so stupid and ridiculous. Now, I understand there being injustice, and I understand that some cops can be brutal, and they should never be cops to begin with.
Exactly.
You know, I understand that. But what's happening, and we're going to cover more of that in this next article here. Okay, I'll get down off my soapbox. We'll finish this one up, okay? He said, I'm talking about the current culture of the New York Times where the publishing of a contrary opinion piece leads to outrage and overhaul in the editorial department, becoming the national norm. So much for different opinions. As expressed by Alexandra De Sanctis on the National Review, no, that's not the same one. The result, quote, the result is ideological servitude, a society in which a culturally powerful, tyrannical minority owns the voice of everyone willing to go along, unquote. And woe be to you if you do not agree to go along.
You know, what you just said, things that offend people. And I bought me a hat, red hat. It didn't say "Make America Great Again." It said, and I just do it because of culture. It said "Make America Native Again."
And you got that at when you visited
exactly.
your dad, and you were on the Cherokee reservation.
I went to Cherokee,
at that time.
and it's simply a heritage thing.
Right.
I mean, if we could make it native again, get rid of all that other stuff. But it was a red hat with white letters, and this punk kid decided to make an explanation with his fingers, and simply because he thought I was saying something I didn't, but.
Yeah.
And he would never look to actually, I guarantee
He never looked at it.
To see
And
what you actually,
exactly.
what
And
it actually said.
And it's things assumed that they will beat people up for having something they assume they said, which, hey.
Yep. All right. The truth about Black Lives Matter Incorporated.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, many of us have been warning about this for years. This is Dr. Brown writing. But now, with the tragic death of George Floyd, and that was tragic,
Yes,
if it
was.
happened,
I agree.
and apparently
I agree.
it did, the way the videos show, that should not have ever have happened. But anyway, That's neither here nor there. But now, with the tragic death of George Floyd, the radical activists have seized their moment. You must kneel or else. You must embrace our agenda, they say, or you will be trampled underfoot. You must bow down or we will force you to bow. Well, I'm sorry. If you don't shout Black Lives Matter loudly enough or demonstrate sufficient guilt, in particular for having white skin, you will lose your job or your credibility or your peace. And I will add, or maybe even your life.
Mm-hmm.
We do stand in solidarity with victims of injustice. We do oppose racism, but we do it in our way, not the mob's way.
Exactly.
And we do it based on our values, not those of the radical left.
Exactly.
One pastor sent me, he says, screenshots of the death threats he had received for taking issue with the quote-unquote queer aspects of the BLM platform. Not today. The mob is coming your way. He said the pastor's home address was revealed as well.
You know what's interesting when you said this? That I believe it was one of the Russian leaders said years ago that they'll be able to conquer America without firing one shot.
Nikita Khrushchev.
And a country is never defeated because of the outside. It starts from within.
It's defeated internally first.
Exactly.
Then.
Exactly. And I think that's where we're headed.
Oh, absolutely. Synagogues vandalized during the riots in Los Angeles have discovered that some of the rioters are also anti-Semitists. And why no public outcry? As a Times of Israel headline announced on June the 2nd, LA Jews reeling after local institutions looted and burned in the Floyd protests. Synagogues, schools, and Jewish memorials vandalized with anti-Semitic, anti-Israel slogans, Jewish-owned businesses battered, particularly in the Fairfax district, unquote. But this is no surprise given that BLM also supports BDS. I'll tell you what that means in just a minute, if you don't remember. And I didn't, by the way. And what are BLM goals like this? Quote, we disrupt the Western prescribed nuclear family structure requirement by supporting each other as extended families and villages that collectively care for one another, especially our children, to the degree that mothers, parents, and children are comfortable. We foster a queer-affirming network. When we gather, we do so with the intention of freeing ourselves from the tight grip of heteronormative thinking, or otherwise the belief that all in the world are heterosexual unless he or she or they disclose otherwise, unquote. As for BLM's anti-Semitic roots, Caroline Glick noted on Israel Hayom that BLM was formed in 2014 as a merger of activists from the anti-Semitic nation of Israel. You remember that one? That's Farrakhan.
Mm-hmm. Lewis.
Nation of Islam.
Oh, Nation of Islam. I'm sorry, you're right. I said anti-Semitic Nation of Islam. The anti-Semitic Black Panthers and Dreamcatchers. In 2016, BLM published a platform that has since been removed from its website. I wonder why.
You know what's interesting now, going back to the heritage thing, the way that the Native American has been treated, you don't hear the outcry on that.
No.
You don't
No.
hear there's not a outcry when the truck driver back when the riots happened was pulled out. You don't hear the outcry on that. You haven't heard the outcry of a lot of these stores that was owned by black people. You don't hear the outcry on that.
Right. Yep.
And
you're
what's
correct.
interesting is this, and the individual, yes, that was murdered. He's being now the icon, you know. So
Yeah. Yeah.
it's sad, but that's
That platform accused Israel of committing quote unquote genocide and referred to the Jewish state as an apartheid state, like South Africa was labeled as. The platform accused Israel and its supporters of pushing the U.S. into wars in the Middle East. The platform also officially joined BLM with the anti-Semitic BDS campaign to, and here's the definition of that icon, to boycott, divest, and sanction Israel.
I remember that now.
Oh,
I
yeah,
was
it's still
wondering
going
where that- I was
on.
wondering where that, what that meant. Oh, yes, I remember that.
BDS campaign leader Omar Barghouti acknowledged this week that the goal of the BDS campaign is to destroy Israel. So that's it's still underway. This week, this was the 10th, so this was put back into this week.
Right.
Okay. BDS campaigns on U.S. campuses are characterized by bigotry, discrimination directed against Jewish students. And all of that was written by Carolyn Glick.
wait a minute, and there's no outcry about how those are treated.
No.
Nobody's saying one thing about that.
Not a word. Only bow before God. As for America as a whole, just a few days ago, the thought of defunding the police would have been viewed as a silly joke. 1 week later, and presidential candidate Joe Biden is being tested for his allegiance to this bizarre proposal. Police reform, where needed, is one thing. Defunding the police is not even a bad joke. But shouting, "Make America Great Again," and rallying around the flag is not the solution. Instead, every one of us must stand up to the mob, refuse to move an inch from our core convictions and values. Dr. Brown says, in our homes, our schools, our neighborhoods, our places of business, on social media, wherever we have a voice, we must stand and speak. Of course, we do abhor police brutality when it occurs. We do stand solidly in solidarity with victims of injustice. We do oppose racism, but we do it in our way, not the mob's way.
Yeah.
And we do it based on our values, not the radical left.
Exactly.
We also do it peacefully.
Absolutely.
That's correct. That is
I-
correct.
I put a post on Facebook. A young preacher, a friend of mine, had posted something, and it was very tastefully done. And someone commented on it, and it was in opposition to him, but they were very respectful, and it was a good discourse going along. And I told him, I said, look, all of this is being pushed by individuals who have been the voice of this quote-unquote movement for 30, 40 years. They've been in office. They haven't done anything. It's worse now than it was when they went into office. And the only thing that has changed is they're now multimillionaires,
Yeah.
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
yet the situation has never been resolved.
No.
And the whole thing that I'm talking about is they were talking about the looting being no different than the Boston Tea Party. And I said, wait, hold on.
There's a whole lot of difference.
Yeah.
There's a
big
whole lot of,
difference.
you're right, there's a whole lot of difference. And for those that might be listening that don't know, history will tell you that the Boston Tea Party was a protest against what?
Taxation without representation. Absolutely.
Right, right. That's what I remember from history. And this looting and rioting that's happening now
It's not protesting.
is not protesting against taxation without representation. They have representation. They've had representation for 50 years. Representation's never done anything.
True.
If you want to make a change, if they really want to make a change, all these rioters and looters, if they really want to make a change, vote somebody else in.
Mm-hmm.
You want to make a change, vote somebody else in who's going to do what you have hired them to do. They work for us, the voter. We don't like what they're doing, kick them out. Make a change in November.
Yeah. Okay, back to the article. Dr. Brown says, I tweeted this last night. Quote, rather than bowing the knee to the mobocracy of the far left or the hyper-nationalism of the far right, I say we bow the knee to Jesus, then get his marching orders and obey him at any cost. I think it was Benny M. Bogard that said, extremism in any direction is not good, or something along that
Exactly.
line. He says, I appeal to you strongly. No, I warn you. This is a critical hour in our history. If we do not push back righteously today, we will have deep regrets tomorrow. And what will we say to our children and to our grandchildren? And he closes in the famous dictum of Dietrich Bonhoeffer, quote, the ultimate test of a moral society is the kind of world that it leaves to his children. And Dr. Brown closes by saying, what will it be?
Mm-hmm.
Now, right in line with this, I also saw in the news this afternoon, this is Americans betrayed as high rollers shell out over $400 million to rioters. And here's how it goes. This article was written by John Carney of the National Insiders. Corporations are opening up their treasuries to give money to social justice causes, including Black Lives Matter, in the wake of nationwide protests and riots over the death of George Floyd. Many of the big businesses are pushing their employees to do the same. Not only are they doing it, they're trying to mandate that their employees follow along. Some businesses are donating to controversial bail funds like the Minnesota Freedom Fund that seek to bail out protesters and rioters. Now here's a list that has been compiled by Breitbart.com, and let's see, I think I got it down here. The source is, by Breitbart, 464 million corporate America floods social justice causes with cash amid Floyd protests. Here's the list. And I want to warn you, these are a lot of companies that we have to do business with if we do anything.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? Don't even think about boycotting them because you can't. All right? Here we go. That's what's most aggravating part of it. All right? Here's the list so far. Sony Music, a fund to support social justice and anti-racist initiatives around the world, $100 million. Walmart, that's certainly local, isn't it?
Oh, yeah.
A new racial equity center, $100 million. Now that's sort of vague. Warner Music, campaigns against violence and racism and social justice causes related to the music industry, $100 million. Nike, Or do you say Nike? I don't know.
Yes, Nike.
Organizations that put social justice, education, and addressing racial inequality in America at the center of their work. 40 million. Alphabet Google. Alphabet is the parent company of Google. Various organizations, starting with 1 million each to Center for Policing, Equity, and Equal Justice Initiative, for a total of 12 million. Amazon, American Civil Liberties Union, ACLU Foundation, Brennan Center for Justice, Equal Justice Initiative, Lawyers Committees for Civil Rights Under Law, the National Association for the Advancement of Colored People, NAACP, National Bar Association, National Museum of African American History and Culture, National Urban League, Thurgood Marshall College Fund. He was used to be a Supreme Court judge. United Negro College Fund, in UNCF. Year Up, I have no idea what that is, 10 million. Facebook, and boy, you talking about, the other one was vague. This one is Groups Working on Racial Justice. 10 million. I have no idea who that was. General Electric, the company that Jamie works for.
Uh-oh.
Well, I guarantee you the smaller downs like Jamie have nothing to do with this. And they can't do anything about it even if they wanted to. Right? General Electric, organizations that promote inclusion and racial justice, an additional 1 million will go to the NAACP Legal Defense and Educational Fund for a total of $10 million. Target, long-standing partners with such as the National Urban League and the African American Leadership Forum, in addition to adding new partners in the Minneapolis, St. Paul, and across the country, 10 million. Verizon, National Urban League, NAACP, National Action Network, Leadership Conference for Civil and Human Rights, Rainbow Push Coalition, National Coalition on Black Civic Participation, NAACP Legal Defense and Educational Fund, $10 million. United Health, YMCA Equity Innovation Center of Excellence, and Minneapolis St. Paul businesses, 10 million. Goldman Sachs, Donor Advised Fund to support leading organizations addressing social injustice and structural inequity and economic disparity, 10 million. Spotify, matching employee donations, 10 million. Disney, organizations that advance social justice, 5 million. Procter & Gamble, NAACP Legal Defense and Educational Fund, YWCA Stand Against Racism, and UNCF. Also, smaller organizations that mobilize and advocate, such as Courageous Conversation, 5 million. Cisco, Equal Justice Initiative, NAACP Legal Defense and Education Fund, Color of Change, Black Lives Matter, and a Cisco Fund for Fighting Racism and Discrimination, 5 million. Now, some of the rest of these are not as well known. Lego, 4 million. Microsoft, well, that's well known. 1.25 million. Starbucks, you know that one. Organizations promoting racial equity and more inclusive and just communities. And this was nominated by their employees. 1.25 million. Intel, quite a list of who they donate to, 1 million. McDonald's, unspecified, 1 million. Uber, 1 million. Duke Energy, 1 million. The Travelers Company, 1 million. Warby Parker, I have no idea what that company is, 1 million. PWC Charitable Foundation, that's another obscure one it seems like, but they donated 1 million. Glosser, 500,000 to various organizations, in addition to 500,000 in grants to black-owned beauty businesses. Total of 1 million. ETSY, 500 to Equal Justice Initiative, or 500,000 rather, and 500,000 to Borealis Philanthropies, Black-Led Movement Fund, and match any employee donations, 1 million. Yelp Foundation, 500,000. H&M, I'm not sure about that company, 500,000. Levi's, 100,000 to ACLU, and 100,000 to grants to Live Free USA, for a total of 200,000.
H&M is a clothing company.
Huh?
H&M is a clothing company.
Oh, okay.
Etsy it's kind of like Pinterest, crafting ideas, that kind of stuff.
Gotcha.
Again, they're both just like Pinterest. It's a online company that you can purchase stuff from.
All right. Lululemon, this is the last one. The Minnesota Freedom Fund, $100,000. So you see why that the title of this was Americans Betrayed as High Rollers Shelled Out 400 plus million to rioters. Well, I tell you, we live in a sad situation, but it's not going to get better.
No.
On a different note here, I mentioned that earlier on the broadcast that we had covered this subject previously, but this is sort of an update, and I got it from Prophecy News Watch, and this was dated, I think, a couple of days ago, June the 10th. Michael Snyder is the author of this one. Billions upon billions of ferocious desert locusts are ravenously devouring crops over a vast portion of the globe that stretches from eastern Africa all the way to India. This unprecedented plague was supposed to be subsiding by now. Then here's part of the update. But instead, a fourth generation of locusts has emerged that is producing swarms that are up to 8,000 times larger than what we witnessed earlier this year. Some of these swarms are the size of major cities. They can travel up to 150 kilometers a day. And when they descend upon a farm, they can literally eat everything there is in as little as 30 seconds. Because these swarms are not affecting the United States, most Americans don't understand the immense devastation that is happening on the other side of the globe right now.
It reminds me of the pictures you saw of the droughts and things in the Great Depression and the
Dust
amount,
Bowl.
Yeah, the
Yeah.
Dust Bowl. I mean, the amount of devastation that the locusts did in that time, and then not getting any rain, it just perpetuated that cycle.
That is true. The UN is warning that mass starvation is coming, and we are being told that it's going to begin by the end of this calendar year. Hey, it started already because of the COVID-19. You go to the grocery store today, And you're not going to find what you found just a couple, 3 months ago. Each desert locust is very small, but collectively they consume vast amounts of food. According to the UN, a swarm that contains between 40 and 50 million locusts can, quote, eat the same amount of food in a day as 3 million people.
That's a lot of food. That's a lot of food.
Yes, it is. And it's important to remember that colossal swarms of locusts have been destroying countless farms day after day for many months. What we have already witnessed is enough to constitute a major global emergency. And now the International Rescue Committee is telling us that this latest generation of locusts is the worst of them by far. A fourth generation of desert locusts, up to 8,000 times larger than previous swarms, could destroy crops at the start of the hunger season and leave millions facing food insecurity and famine, explained the aid organization in a statement. When these swarms of locusts approach an area, they are so thick that they literally block out the sun. Authorities have been spraying them with pesticides from the sky. But when you are talking about countless millions of locusts in a single swarm, killing thousands of them doesn't make too much of a dent. In past articles about these locusts, and I think it was one of his articles that I had brought, he said, I have focused on the widespread destruction that we have been witnessing in Africa, and without a doubt, we will see widespread famine across the eastern portion of that continent. And for the sake of time, he said portions of this new generation is hitting again, Africa again, but it's also hitting Pakistan and India. A British news source is using the term biblical to describe the infestation that Pakistan is facing. Tens of millions of people are set to face food shortages on the continent after a plague of locusts embarked a path of destruction across India and Pakistan. In Pakistan, let's see here. The director.
Did you lose your place again?
Huh?
Did you lose your place again?
I lost my place again. Yeah. Well, I'm trying to hit the highlights here. We're running short on time, but I tell you, it is not a pretty sight at all. Sadly, most Americans don't even know that this is even happening, and that's true. Mainstream media doesn't do anything with it.
It was funny. You mentioned that, and to that point, yes, I go to the grocery store, but like a lot of people, I don't pay as close attention as most. So last Sunday, my sister was talking about the price of beef and the change in the price of beef. I mean, my wife sends me to the store. I go, she says, get the 3-pound pack or get the 5-pound bag. I just go grab it, and I don't pay attention to that. I don't look at that, but yet my sister and my mom do. And we're saying 50% higher in Walmart to get a package of beef as it was 3 months ago. 50% increase. I had no idea. I wasn't paying that close of attention. And how many people literally are not paying that close of attention?
That's true.
You notice that?
Yep.
And what just happened with gasoline?
Yep.
Throughout the COVID thing, Oh man, I loved it. Gas was cheap. We're at $2 a gallon again. Went from $1.30 to $2 a gallon. I mean, we had $1.38 at home, and I think today head down it was $1.79. But in here in Smyrna it was $89, $1.99 if you got close to the interstate. I mean,
Yep. Well, he says that we are facing the worst humanitarian crisis since World War II. He said if we can't reach these people with life-saving assistance they need, our analysis shows that listen to this, 300,000 people could starve to death every single day over a 3-month period. So, there's a lot more to this, but I'll tell you, folks, we are living in the last days. All you have to do is look at what news you can get. Don't pay any attention to the mainstream media. Can't believe what they say anyway. But I'll use alternative news outlets. Granted, some of them may not be too honest either, but you have more of a chance in getting the truth than you will with mainstream media.
for sure.
Well, we're coming to a close on our program for this evening. Sorry that it gets very, how you say, devastating. But the way things are now, things are getting that way. And before too long, it's going to be hitting home with us here in America. Many other of God's children and other places around the world are already being very affected by all of this.
Very true.
We have some of our members here locally in the hospital and others that are not doing well with health reasons. I have one of the fellows that I'm on messenger list with, messenger friends, that he's asked for prayer for himself, his family, and his church. Food is already a big problem there. Just the COVID-19. There are a lot of brothers and sisters around the world that are literally dying because of what's going on today. So let's remember them. And brother Pastor, if you can lead us in the word of prayer, then I'll turn it over to Jamie, and we'll listen to some of these songs as we close out.
Father, as we come before you this evening, first of all, we give you thanks in all things. Thank you so much for providing our needs. But Father, as you know well, there's so many that are in need of daily provisions. I pray that you'll just provide those needs. Those that are not able to get out, I pray that you'll just give them the strength to carry on. Those that are sick, I pray that you just touch their bodies. And Father, as we continue to have this radio broadcast, I pray that you'll provide the needs so that we may do this. And then as we prepare for Sunday, I pray that you'll give us not only the hearts to hear and ears to hear, but Father, may what we hear, may we carry it out around the world. Thank you so much for loving us and caring for us. Be with us as we leave this place. Give us safety on the road and bring us back to the next appointed time. That's in the name of Christ, the Lord and Savior. Amen.
Amen.
Amen. I mentioned the name of Brother Dan's song, and y'all were looking at me like I had 3 heads. And it was, I Kidnapped Jesus, so here goes.
All right.
fell on my face, and that's the day my life had a brand new start. Yeah, he came into my life, covered all my sins, I'll never let him go. Friends to the end, and my life was finally changed when I met Jesus. Now that I found Jesus, here we go. I wanna tell my friends how he saved my soul, and I just didn't know where to begin.
Where to begin?
I kept him to myself, didn't say a word. Figured they'd probably already heard, so I just left him hidden deep within. Yeah, he came into my life, covered all my sins, I'll never let him go. Friends to the end, yeah, my life's been radically changed since I met Jesus. I knew he lived somewhere in my heart, but I just didn't care, didn't do my part. Out of sight, out of mind, all the time. Locked up inside where nobody could see, like a prison guard, I held the key. If my friends never met him, that's no problem of mine. So I hid him from my family, not telling my friends, still take him everywhere and back again. But my life's been totally changed since I kidnapped Jesus. Now I don't know where Jesus went. It's like he came to me and went back again. Now my life's been full of pain since I kidnapped Jesus. Don't ask me how to find him now. I lost the keys, can't let him out. I forgot how to share his love since I kidnapped Jesus. I misplaced Jesus like losing my keys. I don't know where I left him, can you help me please? Man, my life's been falling apart since I kidnapped Jesus. If you have the Lord, please let him out. Go tell your friends what he's all about. Don't waste your life kidnapping Jesus. You know Jesus covered all your sins. Don't be ashamed of the Jesus within. Don't waste your life kidnapping Jesus.
I tell you, that's got
Brother
a
Bernie, didn't that go right along with what you were talking about with your message?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. And you ain't heard nothing yet. Wait till
Well,
Sunday.
that's why I wanted to share that one. I know the title of the song, you're like, what? But I listened to the song, and I was like, oh, I got to play that one. We're going to go ahead and close here just a minute, but I wanted to let everybody know I've queued these up, all of his songs, new songs here. So as soon as we're done, these will start playing, so you can hear these first here on IMBR.
All right, very good. Well, it's been so good to be with you this evening, and we invite you to tune in again. Yeah.
Try again.
Let's try that over again. Please tune in next Friday evening at 6 Central Standard Time, and if you'd like to email us, we'd love to hear from you. Our email address is imbr@imbmpodcast.com. That's imbr@imbmpodcast.com. You can call us on the 615-219-9926 and leave us a message. We'll get back to you. We don't man that number outside of this broadcast, so a message left to us will get to us, and we'll get back to you just as soon as we can. Please call or email us if you have any prayer requests and if you'd like to use on the station, and our names will be withheld unless you permit your name to be used. So, with that being said, I'm Joe Roberts. Good evening, and may God bless you richly. Until next time, I'm here.
I'm here.
I'm here.
And we bid you good night. Stay tuned and listen for a little bit.